to your brain on air. The program will begin shortly. Enjoy. Ви слухаєте свій мозок в ефірі. Програма розпочнеться незабаром. Насолоджуйтесь.
Good morning, everyone. Happy Monday. Welcome to your Brain on Air. I'm your host, Ollie Larson, and I am known the world around for my revolutionary skincare routine. My secret is I use peppered olive oil and bread. Monday, it's a busy one, guys. We got some major news in the tech sector. We got some political news. Why don't we just hop right into it? You know what I mean? Folks, if you woke up like me today and, one of the first things you do is check your phone, of course, I think you are going to notice, of course, if you have streaks, that Snapchat, oddly enough, isn't sending your snaps. And like me, I'm like, shit, I'm never keeping my streaks. I'm going to lose them here in a few hours. What's going on? Well, folks, global internet outage leaves millions without essential services, from tax websites to, like I said, Snapchat. Today on October 20th, 2025, what am I even saying? Much of the global internet experienced a major disruption due to a large-scale outage at Amazon Web Services, or AWS. AWS is one of the biggest cloud computing providers in the world, powering a huge portion of the internet behind the scenes, including websites, apps, financial platforms, games, and even government services. The outage began in the early morning hours of Monday, with most reports pointing to the issue around 3 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. The problem originated in AWS's US-East-1 data center located in Virginia. One of the most heavily used regions in their network. Amazon reported, quote, elevated error rates and latencies, which in a technical way is saying basically their systems were overloaded and slowing down or failing altogether. As a result, dozens of popular services were offline or stopped working correctly. These included social media and messaging platforms like Snapchat and Signal, gaming platforms like Fortnite and Roblox, and financial services such as Venmo, Robinhood, and Coinbase. Even websites and apps that many people don't realize rely on AWS, such as online retailers, booking systems, and back-end tools, were hit. In the UK, major institutions including banks like Lloyd's and the government tax system and telecom companies were reporting service disruptions. Oh, that's fun. So Amazon, Bezos, this isn't looking good for you. Listen, I know a lot of folks are probably going, I order Amazon, like I get ski shoes or whatever off of that. I don't know. I buy like mini curling sets. You know what I mean? Like there's like a little, it's like a thing. It's kind of like, what's that one game? Shuffleboard. They have a mini shuffleboard that old people play. Well, this is like what Gen X is getting into. They're getting into these curling boards, and I love it. Like if they make that the next thing, I think I'm into it. Curling on this little whatever, it's awesome. Amazon, they have those little things. Well, they also provide internet service, as I'm sure many people are figuring out this morning, but I didn't expect it. YouTube seems to be working just fine. I don't tend to order much from Amazon these days, but I do have Snapchat streaks. That's exactly where it's hurting me. It's in my heart. It's like, I'm hoping that my sister and I can keep our Snap streak going. My fiance, we have a solid one going. I got one with my cousins. It's like, dang, guys, I feel like I'm personally affected. They began restoring the systems around 6:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, but some users still experience slow responses or trouble logging in throughout the day. As of now, there's no indication that this was a cyber attack, although experts believe that there was an internal issue, possibly related to server configurations or backend infrastructure failures. Some people have been here and there. You go on TikTok, you're gonna hear the average person. I'm not even gonna lie to you guys. There's gonna be some news platforms out there going, this is a cyber attack. I don't know that I see enough evidence for that. If there is more developed in this story, I will happily bring that to light. But as of right now, this is a big delay. I think that many people like me, maybe if you're alive like I was last year, I was personally affected by the CrowdStrike outage that happened 2024 in July. We were actually, my family, we were planning a trip to Las Vegas. Isn't that the tits? We were going to the gambling capital of the world. I was so excited, except for maybe China. I know that they go high stakes over there. The Asians go hard on gambling, seriously. Anyways, what's it called? We were going to Vegas. We were at the Fargo International Airport. I'm just kidding. It's not international. They have those little ones that go to like Haiti or something like that. I don't know. Anyways, we were at the Fargo airport. My family was there, our extended family, and then we get the alerts and whatnot. We were looking through all of our shit that morning, like, oh man, this looks like some fucking flights are getting delayed, honey. I don't know. Like, I'm gonna call my parents and let them know that some shit's going down. We meet them at the airport. Yep, our flight's delayed, and then we get some bullshit where we get it rescheduled, and we're going to Minneapolis. We end up taking a 4-hour trip in the car to Minneapolis, and listen. This trip was admittedly awesome. We stayed in a La Quinta Inn. I smoked a joint, back there. And honestly, it was one of the funnest nights. I'm not even going to lie. I hung out with my cousins. I hung out with my sister, my fiance. We all had a great time. They took some great pictures. We eventually, my stepfather raises his hand when we're all in one of the hotel rooms. We were gathering because we were like, all right, I guess we're waiting until the morning because that's when we're really going to fly out. My stepdad raises his hand like a biblical figure. He looks like Moses in this photo because I have it captured in my mind. My entire family sitting around him like prophets, waiting to hear his message from he just came down from the hill like Moses, and it's like, oh my God. Ladies and gentlemen, we are not flying out. There has been a full cancellation of our flight, and we're like, fuck, it's really over. This is really bad. So that was a major one. I remember it so fondly because it was right around, I remember actually on our trip up from Minneapolis, because we did end up staying another night, and it was honestly great. Had a great time, had a bottle of wine, it was awesome. I loved it. It was a great time. 10 out of 10, 21st birthday. What's it called? We were on our way up from the cities, and we were looking through Twitter, and then fucking immediately I don't remember who threw out the news, because I know if I take credit for it, my mom's going to be mad because she might have been the one to break the news, or Nick might have been, or I don't know. Whoever broke it, I'm not going to give credit where credit, whoever did it, thank you so much for doing it. We found out that exact day that Biden was dropping out and Kamala was the pick. And I'm honestly going to say it in the back of my head, because in the back of my mind, like David, I knew right then and there, I was like, oh shit, I think Trump just won. I'm 90% sure that Trump just won right there. Like, I couldn't think of the last time anything like this happened. I was like, this is so choppy. This kind of passing the baton method that they're going to use. I don't know if all the donors are going to be behind it. Anyways, my family and I very, very distinctly remember that last outage, as I'm sure many of you do. That one, it affected airports, some people were trapped. It was right around the time Mr. Beast was filming the Beast games in Las Vegas, actually, and people were going to the hospital. I remember that time very clearly and very fondly. To be fair, it was Brat summer, it was a great summer, I had a great time. Moonbeam Ice Cream summer was a little less. Anyways, this is just bringing back memories for me of that last outage, and I'm sure it is if you experienced it yourself. Many people were affected by it. But for those affected today, the best course of action was patience. Most services came back online without users needed to do anything, but for some businesses, developers, this is a reminder to consider system redundancy, alternative hosting, or better disaster planning to avoid total reliance on a single provider. So just I don't know if you are, organizing your own tech company, but if you are, now is a good, solid time to reconsider how much you're going to be, relying on one solid person. Jeff Bezos, he's not, I don't trust his laugh. I'm sorry. He really makes me uncomfortable. He's got a rich guy laugh, and I like rich guy laughs. Don't trust me. I've hung out on golf courses. Guys, did you know that Minnesota has some of the most, per capita, most golfers in the country? I've hung out with golfers, white golfers. And by the way, not fully white even. These people are they're the mix with Indian because they are up here. They're Norwegian, German, and whatnot. Some of them are Somalian. There's such a mix of golfers, and they all have that laugh. They all have a loud, boisterous giggle. And it just delights me. I love hanging out with golfers. Golfers are some of my favorite people. Anyways, in short, today's outage was a significant reminder of just how interconnected and potentially fragile our digital world has become, guys. So if you're on any of these services, this is a reminder that once we have the chips in your brains, if anything anything goes wrong in the update sector, you're just going to be sitting in your chair going, and like you're going to have spit flowing out of your mouth. Your eyes are going to be going in 5 different directions. I know, it's like your head's going to be buzzing, and it's just because they someone accidentally wrote a line of code incorrectly, and now your Neuralink is like creating super cancer or something. Like, you don't know. This is exactly why you should be suspicious of when people are telling you to get the chips in your arms, when people are telling you to do any sort of things like that. Stay very, very cautious of the medical sector. You know what I mean? Pacemakers. I'm nervous if I ever have to get one of those fuckers, because I know that Elon Musk could just hack it and turn it off. I know I'm talking like some fucking crummy idiot from the Midwest who's like screaming from his farm, but I'm being honest with you. Like, Bill Gates is trying to kill me. You know what? Folks, that's our first story. I appreciate you sticking with it, sticking with me for it. I'm going to reorganize my words. I'm going to get better at talking. If you don't mind, I'm going to take a break for our sponsorship, because I think now is a good time for it. Folks, activism is the newest, hottest thing. First, you're looking for something to do on a weekend. Next thing you know, some lesbian is handing you combat boots and a flag saying, let's go to the Fargo City Hall. My polycule and I are meeting up for the protest today. But let's be honest, people, standing outside in the heat all day is a drag. And who wants to go help people if they aren't personally benefiting? That's why, if you haven't tried it, this fall is the time to get into performative activism. That's right, folks. Why just say tax the rich when you can get a t-shirt of it? Riz up that Latina baddie whose papa's in an ICE detention facility with your "no human is illegal" tattoo. Now women will definitely think you're one of the safe ones. This method is highly approved by heavy hitters like Hassan, Dean Withers, and every other weirdo with a stud in their nose on your fucking block. Performative activism, white saviorism, here that's called Monday. Use code YBOA at your next protest for 50% off. Folks, this is a perfect bleed-in, this advertisement. I love performative activism. I've worked with them many times before. They're a friend of the show. We're going to talk about the No Kings protests that have rocked the country Saturday. While people in D.C. are getting bats to their heads, 20 to 30-year-olds across the nation are having a wine fest outside their local Capitol buildings. Folks, I have a complicated relationship with performative activism. I'm terrified of the idea of it. I love the idea of people getting out and, doing shit. They're really, they're really making a difference in the world. That hasn't happened since the 1960s. And if you really think that anything legitimately grand moving acts have happened since then, they haven't been in your history books. They're not of any interest. I'm going to be honest with you. These ones will not be taught anytime soon. The BLM protests that happened in 2020 are going to go down in history as nothing except for the fact that they rocked the Twin Cities and they haven't been the same ever since. It's regrettable because these started out as movements of legitimate belief, but then it turns out that the majority of the people running the protests were grifters who ran off with everybody else's money. Listen, I believe in the causes that these people claim to, which is exactly why I'm so pissed at the idea of these rallies becoming less shows and displays of solace towards the cause and genuine care from one's heart. They're less these displays of the tape on the mouth that people used to do and shit. They're less being quiet and making your presence known through the amount of people and shit. It's like rallies for people who can't afford Coachella tickets, who want to just kind of sit in a crowd with a bunch of other people and be sweaty together, and we all believe in the same shit. There's videos, you can see them on TikTok, where if you give a hint even that there was one video of a woman who was flexing a tattoo at one girl, and she was like, "Oh, you think I'm scared?" And she's like, "Oh no, I was showing you a tattoo, I agree with," and that they don't care actually if you agree with them on anything. They just they're ready to fight. They're ready to go in there and fight with whoever. Listen, any person who's I'm really into the activism angle. I go to protests regularly, and I have this really cool coffee shop that I go to that they do this slam poetry on Sundays, and we all go to the protests and we make sure that people know that we just are really legitimately concerned citizens. Listen. If you are bringing a hacky sack and a guitar to the protests, if you're not just sitting there like Buddhists, if you are not listen, The black people did it right with the sitting in on lunch counters. That was a brilliant idea. They just sat and they were like, look, I want fried eggs and ham. Like, listen, just give me it. That's all I want. That's all they needed to do. They made their presence known through normalizing themselves. That is the movement that we got to do here. Anyways, I'm going to stop rattling off and I'm going to go ahead and get into the news because I want to go ahead and rattle off the facts and let y'all formulate your opinions because this isn't just Ollie Spouter off his opinions. This is also me trying to share the news with you guys and my just take. I feel like I'm sitting at a bar talking at you guys about what my take is. Anyways, let me tell you what's actually on the TV instead of telling you my take. Saturday, across the United States, in cities around the country and the world, millions of people joined in what organizers are calling the No Kings protests, a coordinated demonstration against the policies and style of the Donald J. Trump administration. Excuse me. Many participants are saying protests excuse me. Many participants are saying they are protesting what they see as growing authoritarianism, the militarization of domestic policy, and the concentration of power in the executive branch. Boom! I got through that one. In the United States alone, the events were held in over 2,600 cities. Organizers say that between 4.2 million and 7.6 million people took part in the nationwide protests on October 18th, 2025, making it potentially one of the largest single-day protest movements in recent U.S. history. Major metropolitan areas saw especially large crowds. Like in cities like New York and Chicago, tens of thousands of people gathered. Some estimates suggest more than 100,000 in a single city. These protests were largely peaceful and nonviolent. Police and organizers both emphasized de-escalation and civil conduct. I actually am going to take their word for it 100% on this article because unlike a lot of other situations where people have gone, oh, these were mostly peaceful protests, but, there was, burning buildings, there was cars turned over, there was real civil unrest, and they were just turning an absolute blind eye to it. This was not like some of those examples back in the earlier 2020s. Like, admittedly, when people say that the BLM protests were mostly peaceful, absolutely, most of them were. That does not discount the few that went ahead and made certain neighborhoods unlivable. That's just a fact. If you haven't been down to the cities as of late, I'm sorry to break it to you. It's not nearly as nice as you probably remember it being. It's still the cities. They're holding on. They're still a pretty decent area. You know what I mean? Just they will tell you themselves that they are losing a little bit of what made them special. They're losing a little bit of that luster that made the cities a little more appealing than the rest of this state. Anyways, internationally, solidarity events were held in Europe and Canada. For example, in Amsterdam, protesters gathered in front of the U.S. consulate wearing yellow and carrying signs, showing that the movement has resonance beyond U.S. borders. Like, honestly, why yellow? I'm curious about that. The name No Kings is symbolic. It rejects the idea of a ruler above democratic constraint. Organizers say they chose the slogan to challenge what they view as an escalation of power above law and to underscore that the American flag belongs to the people, not to a monarch or king-like figure. Yeah. If you haven't seen Trump's response to all of this, tweeting out the pictures of you and J.D. Vance wearing crowns where you guys inadvertently look like king and queen, that's not a great response to this. Listen, you got to give him credit for the fact that he's funny. You can never give him credit for his rhetoric. It's not helping him. It's not helping him look better with the people that don't already like him. You know what I mean? It's not convincing anybody to be on his side when he is snide on Twitter or has any of these things. But he's a shit. He's always been kind of a shit, and that's fine. They deliberately set this date to coincide with a large military parade celebrating the 250th anniversary of the U.S. Army, tying their action to concerns about the militarization of civic life. In terms of local law enforcement response, governors in some states, such as Texas, mobilized the National Guard ahead of the protest. There were concerns about outside instigators and potential unrest, but the events appear to have proceeded without major violence or arrests. I totally would agree with that. I kept on social media as much as I could around those dates. I didn't see anything major on TikTok. I didn't see anything major on World Star or Fight Talk. You know what I mean? Nothing on those. Normally during protest days, you expect to see that. Like in LA, you saw a few of those. But yesterday was pretty clean. I'm going to admit it was pretty clean compared to most other events. The key issues raised by protesters included opposition to aggressive immigration enforcement and the increased use of military and guard troops in domestic settings, claims of use of overreach, and concerns about rising corporate and billionaire influence in politics. What do you mean rise? surprising. Guys, if we don't want to pretend that the Biden administration was not absolutely threatening Facebook behind the scenes, or that like governments all over, like in the United States' history, it's not unique that they've had this much sway and influence. And if people want to go, oh, they're kissing ass, did you see that meeting where they gave him a bunch of gifts? Are you saying that you don't expect them to play business? Absolutely. Yes, sure. Yeah, it's dumb. Sure. Criticize it as much as you want. You're not making a hot, unique take. I'm sorry. This whole claim that billionaire influence or the oligarchy is a brand new thing in the United States, it's not true, and it hasn't been true. Gilded Age. It hasn't been true since the 20s. It hasn't been true. It's been true for all of United States history that there's been a level of rich people having influence in the United States government, lobbying groups. If you really want to talk about grand influence that the money has over your politicians, that is the least of your worries. It's one to worry about, sure, but I'm just gonna say that the oligarchy doesn't exist now more than any other time in history. It's true that people just appeal to whatever is in power. Trust me, if a Democrat wins, besides listen, JD Vance is probably gonna win in 2028. If a Democrat wins, though, they're gonna be swaying right back to the censorship. They're going to be swaying right back to the idea that you shouldn't be talking too much about your concerns about vaccines and things like that online. They're going to immediately start putting the hush-hush on conspiratorial things. The only reason that Joe Rogan clips are going viral on YouTube again is because Trump is back in office. That's exactly what I mean, is that he's gaining relevance because he is with the times. Everything is flowing with the times. And once a Democrat's back in office, everybody will start to kowtow to them. It's perfectly reasonable. Facebook will go back to normal, or back to whatever normal is. Normal for them is just not having any true opinions and molding to whatever the status quo now is. With this going forward, guys, this movement signals at a substantial level of organized and widespread dissent against the current administration. No matter how you feel about it, protesters, thousands of them, thousands of us, ordinary people, some folks that you don't even, you're like, oh my God, that person, I see you at work every day and you were at the protest. That's making people go out and do shit. It's it's happening. Everyday people, your coworkers are going to start getting, you remember back in 2020, 2023, when everybody's coworkers started disappearing, and it's because they went and raided the Capitol. It's like, yeah, we're going to start to see that again. We're going to start to see people going and disappearing. It's like, oh shit, yeah, it's because you were at the No Kings protests. Okay, sure. Yeah, of course you're gone. You know what I mean? Civil unrest, no matter who it's coming from, eventually they'll get scooped up by the police. Guys, keep this energy up, the No Kings energy up, where it's like we're gonna sit around and we're gonna be mostly peaceful. We're not gonna instigate, and then maybe I can get on the protest angle a little more. Maybe you guys can convince me to go out and be a hippie with one of those fucking denuclearized symbols or whatever. Anyways, guys, that was a fun story. Those are our first two of the day. Let's head into the rapid fire section of today's headlines. Folks, if you don't already know, in the rapid fire section, I choose 9, 10, 11-ish of today's major headlines, and then I tell you them, and then I give you my brief synopses of what I think about them. U.S. President Donald J. Trump accuses Colombia's leader of being an illegal drug leader, threatens to cut aid and impose tariffs amid escalating tensions with Bogota. Listen, guys, this is President of Colombia, the president, I think it's a president, I'm 90% sure. He is, Colombia's not, if you're going to accuse any country of being ran by drug dealers and having them in the Congress, it's like, yeah, absolutely. That's like saying, oh, the United States, where pedophiles are mostly in power. Absolutely. That's actually true. That's actually just a fact. Like, Colombia has a long history. If you've seen Narcos, if you've seen, the Epstein files, you know that your government just has a history of having these people in power. It's like, for some reason, it's like moths to a light. You know what I mean? The drug dealers in Colombia, they're drawn to the Congress. For some reason, like, the criminals, the people who want to scam on Wall Street, the people who want to do inside trading, people who want to fly to islands for, like, sex, you know what I mean? Those people in the United States, they're drawn drawn to politics like moths to a light, and they're the ones who catch the light first before any of the people who want to use that light for actual good catch it. That's how the whole system works. I'm sorry, you guys. Anyways, yeah, sure, accuse Colombia's leader of being a drug dealer. Maybe he is. I don't know. You know, you slang steaks back in the 2000s. You know what I mean? What is a drug anyways? You know what I mean? He sells Colombia, they give us coffee. That's a drug. Let the heroin, let the coke come in. What is it harming you? The CIA let it flow in back in the 80s. Don't start acting like you guys have a problem with it now. That you guys, one of the main reasons we got into Afghanistan was because of the poppy field so that we could grow heroin. All right, anyways, whatever. Okay. Australia's Prime Minister Anthony Albanese heads to the White House for his first summit with the United States amid aiming to deepen cooperation on rare earth minerals and Indo-Pacific security. Folks, good for him. I'm just going to say it. Good for the Prime Minister of Australia. I'm going to be honest with you. If there's one country I would probably defect to, if there was ever an incident where the United States became unlivable, I don't see that happening within my lifetime. I'm going to be honest with you. It's so far from my perception that this country ever becomes unlivable. It is, and if you are at that point, I'm going to be honest with you, you're fear-mongering or you're being fear-mongered too. It's okay. I understand. It's easy to give in to the fear. It's easy to feel like maybe there's not going to be another election. Buddy, America's been along longer than that, and trust me, the systems in power, the systems around you, they're stronger than you give them credit. The only reason that you don't know that is because you've only ever learned about them through TikTok. It's okay. It's understandable. I understand why Kamala really made us nervous. She made you guys really, really nervous that this was going to be the last election. You believed her. That's, that was the issue right out. I'm going to flat out say it. You believed her. You shouldn't have believed her for a second. She didn't pick Pete Buttigieg, and I'm never going to get over that, guys. She didn't pick Pete Buttigieg because she didn't want a queer on her ticket. That's her. That's her in her book. She didn't use that word, but she might as well have. You know what I mean? That's her energy. She's like, I understood the risk. It's understandable. Okay, sure. But you can't claim to represent me at that point. I love Australia. This is my original point. I would move there so quickly if America ever became unlivable. If there was ever an incident where I had to flee from my beautiful lake state of Minnesota, I would trade it in a heartbeat for Melbourne. I would go to Queensland. I don't know. I would go anywhere in that country because it's a beautiful. I love Bluey. It's a great show. The culture, their accent it's one of my favorite accents ever to exist on the planet. It's a unique kind of blend with it's not quite American, not quite English. It is this weird we're a colony of prisoners and we like it. We like it. They look their jaw, all their vowel sounds. You know what I mean? I love their accent so much, and I'm done. I'm gonna if I thirst over Australia anymore, it'll be the whole episode. The Supreme Court of the United States agrees to hear a landmark case challenging the federal law that bans gun possession by users of illegal drugs. The key test of the Second Amendment protections, guys. All right. Let's get into the NRA. The NRA, I will give them credit for one thing. They stand for gun rights. This was brought to my... I remembered this recently, that they came out when all the trans shooter bullshit was happening earlier this year. They came out and said, listen, you guys, you conservatives, listen up. I'm normally on your side, but you cannot fuck with you can fuck with their testosterone. You can fuck with their estrogen. You can take away the right to trans children. Nobody's actually looking to protect that. But you cannot take away their right to fucking bear arms. You will not touch their guns. That is one thing that I will always respect the NRA for. They are absolutists with their beliefs that everybody is entitled to defend themselves. They will go to people, and I'm against people who've been involuntarily committed owning guns. I'm a person where I'm like, if you've been involuntarily committed, I don't know that you're really the type that I would want to own a gun. They're against the idea of them being banned from owning guns. I'm like, wow, they're like, I mean, okay, sure. The NRA stands by their shit, and maybe listen, I use technically what is considered an illegal drug in some places. Federally speaking, marijuana is not technically legal still. I don't know if this would affect me. You know what I mean? I feel like state-wise I should be pretty good because Minnesota's state law is that is that marijuana is absolutely legal. If I ever want to own a gun, maybe I'm okay in that instance. But let's see what Brett Kavanaugh has to say about that. My favorite justice, my favorite sitting justice. Saudi Arabia conducts a nationwide test of its emergency alert systems today, including mobile phone and siren warnings as a part of its border civil defense upgrade. The Saudis, good for them. What is it called? I will say this about Saudi Arabia. If they offer me a contract like they offered a lot of those comedians, I will lease this show to the Saudis. I will do this show in Riyadh. I will speak against the United States government. I'm not even lying to you. This is like, I will be treasonous if you give me enough of a bag. Bill Burr said it was fine because it's like, we're like giving them the chance to like laugh. We're making them laugh at our comedy. So it's fine. Japanese equities hit record highs as the coalition around former leader Sene Taikaichi, advances, weakening the yen and stirring global market jitters over stimulus and China's slowdown. Japan, they're the market probably to bet on. I'm going to be honest with you guys. Japan, we forget how much of a colonized island they are. They really did. They're Pacific Islander. If a lot of people don't realize that they started out brown, and then the people that were paler went on that island, and they did it. Their colonization, their Israel, happened millions of years ago. None of us just talk about it. That's just a fact. They're the economy to bet on, in my personal opinion. They're gonna go further than the Chinese. They're gonna outlast the Chinese, and that's just my bet. That's my bet. I'm just going to say it. I drive a Nissan. I wouldn't name one Chinese car. Now, a darling heist at the Louvre Museum in Paris results in the theft of 8 priceless 19th century jewelry pieces, sparking global media intrigue. U.S. stock... never mind. I was reading the next one. Goddamn. Before giving my opinion on the Louvre... I've never been there. Everything there sounds overrated, and I'm going to be honest with you. The French sound like they don't like me, and as a result, I don't know. I'm okay. I liked your guys's when you guys hosted the Olympics. Your Eiffel Tower is nice. One of my family members went and visited and said that you were particularly rude to Americans, which is like, I get it. We're louder than usual. We're loud, whatever. But the French are weird or something. That's your guys' stereotype, and we're fat. So that's fine. You know what I mean? The French are okay. I'm sad that you had your $1 million shit stolen. That's not, your priceless jewelry pieces from the 19th century. I'm sure that they meant a lot to Jacques Picard Giamonili or whoever owned them. But whatever. Cool. U.S. stock future... I'm done with France. Thank you. Much appreciated. U.S. stock future edges higher ahead of major earnings and inflation data, even as concerns linger over trade and tech sector disruptions following the AWS outage. So that's, we're holding on strong. They're edging out higher than expected, even though this data outage... Listen, guys. I don't know, ride the wave like people did when Amazon dipped, or not Amazon, Meta dipped back in 2022. That was a good time to invest. Whenever these major companies that are kind of fixtures in America dip, it's always a good time to get involved. I don't know, that's what I've heard at least. I'm not involved. I don't have a stock portfolio. I'm Tim Waltz. I don't even own a house. Opinion makers warn that although President Trump touts a golden age for America, the country instead faces a rising polarization, economic strain, and democratic erosion. Well, that's The Guardian, guys. That's one that's been hitting headlines as of late. Do I buy into the democratic erosion stuff that they're trying to say? Not necessarily. I don't believe that we're not going to have another election. I believe that, J.D. Vance might win. That's if we can't get our shit together and find a decent candidate to get behind. But that's only if we fail. Guys, it's only if we fail. It's only if we fail. And for our final headline, Skywatchers get a rare threat this week. 2 large comets, Comet Lemon and Comet Swan, to pass Earth and will not return for centuries. Don Lemon fired Little Don Lemon from CNN or whatever. I don't know. I didn't watch Don Lemon. I think he's a pompous ass. I'm not even gonna lie to you. I don't like Don Lemon. I'm trying to listen to his show because I'm like, it's good to get other perspectives, and I'm like, his personality is just unappealing. I'm not even lying to you. Anyways, folks, that was our rapid fire section for today. I hope you enjoyed it. That was great. And normally now we would hop into our third story, but as some astute viewers may know, it's Monday. So normally on a Monday, I like to drop a For Your Consideration segment. Welcome to For Your Consideration, ladies and gentlemen, where I like to talk about something that's just, I don't know. It's like a preacher when it's like on Sundays where they like to stand in front of people and go, "Hey, I've been thinking about this, and now I'm gonna bother you with it, so you can think about it." That's basically the whole process of For Your Consideration. I take something that I've been thinking about and then I put it in your mind for a while. And I leave you with that for the majority of the rest of the week while we continue our episodes. Folks, I wanted to come at you like an old-timey preacher. I'm taking the napkin out of my pocket to dab the forehead sweat as I grip my, what's it called? You know, the podium. And I'm getting ready to preach. I think we as people can overestimate the good of our side, simply because it's the total and complete opposite of what the other side wants. I think that people can get caught in, I would say, reactive delusion. For example, Republican and right-leaning parties have claimed the virtue of being pro-business and pro-free economy, something I think most people can get behind, while also understanding unregulated business can have its downsides. Polluting the environment, employment abuses, and monopolies. Those are ones to consider. But in response to that, move the complete other way. For some odd reason, the solution is the complete embrace of Marxism. 20-year-olds, people that I respect and listen to, people that are out here reposting Chris Valenti videos on TikTok. Chris Valenti is a radical leftist in favor of the harm of people he disagrees with. That is what the youthful energy in this country is. Idiot hippies in the 1990s and 2000s embraced figures like Che Guevara, who was a socialist guerrilla warfare expert who oversaw the execution of hundreds of his own people. And yet, he's so with it and hip because he hated capitalists or whatever. And that's exactly my point. People indulging in ideas and revolutions they hardly understand, but also thinking that Fox News went too far describing Venezuela as a shithole, which it is. The book is out, kids. Socialism, Marxism, and other grand ideas where everybody shares everything and everyone is happy doesn't work and only services the people in mansions that are running the government. And these idiots will look at you and go, yeah, well, tell me about America. What about it? What about America? You're eating frozen pizza and playing video games with your girlfriend. Try telling that to the starved and tell me how things go. Trust me, buddy, they know how good you've got it here and you're just too privileged to see it. You have to pay bills. What did you expect? You really think people are dying to come give you water for free? You think that the car was just slapped together by people on the lot and sold out the back like a shoe store in Guatemala? No. We have infrastructure. We have roads. We have systems of design and shipping routes. We have companies which allow you to get around in a fucking Buick Encore and not a horse-drawn carriage passed down to you by your grandparents. Kids, if you really want to talk about free healthcare, have some perspective and empathy to step outside of yourself and see the world we live in. Some people like their providers. Some people don't want to pay out the fucking wazoo for someone else's operation. Some people don't want to live in a system like Canada where sure it's free, we'll see you in 6 months and take a look at that growth that's clearly spread by that point. Single-payer systems never have their dramatic wait times and inept service called out. If you really want to throw away more of your hundreds and thousands of dollars to pay for some smoker's new lungs, be my guest, buddy. But I'm just going to be honest with you. Fatty can cut his own fucking foot off. I don't have to pay for it. I didn't fuck up your fucking pancreas. Why should I have to pay for it? Same issue. Many kids with their perspective on housing and homelessness. Many people my age have been fed the line of helpless gaggles of misfits just looking for somewhere to belong, hook, line, and sinker. This generation is leading in previous ones in handing money to panhandlers. That's right, Gen Z and millennials are currently like leading in charity of their own volition to the poor, despite being the ones who can least afford it. Look, I know I may hurt Dirty Willie's feelings, but 95% of it is a mental illness problem people refuse to get help for, and every other person my age is absolutely baited into the idea of housing first. Get them into homes, then it'll be solved. Let's fund our government to build these units and have all these mental patients who have no clue how to take care of them. Most of them are unmotivated, refuse to have a job, refuse to climb the ladder of renting, getting some money together. No, idiots like Omar Fateh and other idiots in Minneapolis want you to throw away your money even more to like it's an addiction. They don't want their money to go to silly little things like the military or brand new bridges to drive across or like to keep the nation safe or whatever. They prefer it go to use centers where these druggies can come shoot up with they can bring their drugs to these drug abuse prevention centers. It's really to prevent them from overdosing because they have medical staff on board, and they're not being jailed once they use their heroin. They're allowed to head out. I don't understand how they can just turn on their phone and have someone spew talking points to them, rant a few paragraphs, and suddenly they're 100% on board with another random project that's going to steal thousands of taxpayer dollars to benefit who again? Druggies, the homeless, criminals, vagrants, not the people who paid to pave the streets, the ones who sully it with their filth. Folks, just because the right may stand for one thing, that doesn't mean that it has to become our enemy. Prisoners should be in jail. Cops should have decent morale. DEI cannot go too far. And a free market economy with regulations that to keep the heavy hitters at bay is good. Once we start embracing decent American ideals that have shown to have greater satisfaction rates for their people and have been shown to make the region more prosperous that they're practiced in, but the first key to that is to get rid of the revolutionary attitude. Time to put away the signs. It's time to clean off the face paint. Be an ordinary civilian who wants the best for his people, the best for his nation. Maybe then some conservative-leaning people will realize that they like some of our policies rather than the chaos of Trumpism, than the chaos of disappearing people, than the chaos of absolute uncontested, nope, this is rule of law, and unfounded, unwhatever claimed, no peer reviews. Maybe then they will start to wake up to it. Otherwise, how else are you going to make yourself look decent enough? I'm just going to be honest with you. The whole art of politics is dressing yourself up. And the way that we've been doing it as of recent, this new, we're the radical left. We're going to change things, but we're progressives. We ain't waiting for the old world. We ain't waiting. We're going to make the change now. I promise you. Any person who is idolizing Che Guevara, any person who is who looks at Trotsky or whatever, and Trotsky was some guy who went and fucked. The only decent thing he ever did was he had sex with Frida Kahlo when he was in hiding in Mexico. That's the only decent thing that man ever did. He didn't have decent ideals of Leninism. He didn't have decent ideas about the people. He hated at a deep down core. That is actually a majority of what fuels a lot of these people. These Trotskyites, these people, these Stalinites, these people that use communism eventually to make themselves the religion. That is the ultimate goal. The majority of people that you see supporting systems of socialism, systems of grand control, have a grand ego in their mind that is powering it at the heart of it. This is not an exaggeration. You talk to the people that support these types of policies, and they're the most egocentric folk. They believe that their way of life not only is just, it works for them and they don't care what other people do, that it is the template. That is always the template. That is always what it ends up being. If you embrace any too far radical ideals of any direction, on one line you get fascism, on one you get absolute hell communism. You get Stalinism. There is no version of this. Everybody needs to conform to my ideology. None of it will ever work. Folks, if I just had to wrap this up, and I want to wrap it up because I don't want to take any more of your time. Mondays are busy, and I totally understand that. Dress democratic policies nicely, because Trumpism's mask is starting to fall. People that have been following this for years, they're starting to get angry about the Epstein list. They're starting to question themselves. These Bill Clinton era Democrats that got suckered in 2016 into voting for him and whatnot. Trumpism as a whole is declining, and for you to be on the other side of the rabbit hole for somebody, for you to be that like, hey, I'm happy you're done with that little era. I'm happy that he dumped you. I'm sorry that your heart is broken. Now you can start to let him in the family. You can start to let them back in. This whole cutting people off nonsense that people are preaching is bullshit. I'm sorry, you guys. Look your Trump-loving grandma in the eyes and say, I don't hate you. I hate your cooking. I'm going to be honest with you. I hate coming to your house. It smells weird. But I don't hate you. You know, you gave me like maybe 4 or 5 good memories. But, you know, you're family, so I got to like you. That's the old America I want back, guys. The one where we look our absolute political enemies in the face and we go past the butter. Isn't that what we all want? Down deep. Dress yourselves up decently and maybe you'll convince them that Trump's version of monarchy is just as monarchy as any other version we've had. He's dressed it up in a Miami studio where you can do coke. And that's the whole image that he's sold these people. It's an Andrew Tate image, and these men always fall apart eventually. Their scam will come apart, but you have to be the voice of reason on the other side. If you refuse to be the voice of reason, people will go to someone else. People will go to someone else, and that's exactly what we saw in 2016. It's exactly what we'll see in 2028 if we're not careful. Folks, thank you so much for listening. You didn't have to, but I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Subscribe if you liked it. We're back on tomorrow, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then we're off for the weekend. That's our schedule. I greatly appreciate your time, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for listening. This has been your Brain on Air with Ollie Vogt Larson. Have a wonderful rest of your Monday, and I'll catch you later. Bye-bye.